All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over the docs.microsoft.com, ASP.NET MVC overview getting started, and I'm up to the 9th of 11 articles, and I'm in the middle of adding a new field. I went back and added my own database information in. Now, two things that allowed me to do. All right. So first of all, I see I made a mistake here. And that was called Friday the 13th Reboot. All right. The first thing that it allowed me to do was to put my own information in. The next thing that it allowed me to do, they formatted these for decimals, so I did the same. I did not, in my own copy of the database I made, I didn't have a price thing in there, so I just made up these prices. I don't think that really matters one way or the other. All right, but the other thing I was able to do, not that it's a big thing, but I now have JSON X in its right alphabetic order. All right, so I think that now everything that's in there is okay, to my knowledge. Let's save this. All right, now, so what we've done is we've made these changes in this seed method, which is in here, okay? The seed method runs with every migration. You can't just insert data because the rows you're trying to add will already be there after the first migration. All right. Then it says the upsert operation prevents errors that would happen if you try to insert a row that already exists, but it overrides any changes to data that you may have made while testing the application. With test data in some tables, you might not want that to happen. In some cases, when you change data while testing, you want your changes to remain after the updates. In that case, you want to do a conditional insert operation and only insert if it does not already exist. Now, the first parameter that gets passed to our add or update, okay, specifies the property to use to check to see if the database already exists. So it's checking the title, in other words. And each title is supposed to be unique. So the code that you see right here, that code assumes that the titles are unique. If you manually add a duplicate title, we should get an exception. All right, so we're told that we should build, and I think I have, but I'm going to build it again anyway, so that shouldn't hurt anything. The next step is to create a DB migration class for the initial migration. This migration should create a new database, and that's why we deleted the one from the previous step. So, in the package manager control, down here, okay, and if you're following along in the tape here, so it says enter this command, add migration initial, to create the initial migration. The name initial is arbitrary and used to name the migration created, they mentioned there. So let's try to put that in, and hopefully I won't get any errors. Code first migration creates another class file in the migrations folder with the name date stamp, so it's got today's date on it right there, underscore initial.cs. And this class contains code that creates the database schema. So that's what's shown right in here. The migration file name is prefixed with a timestamp to help with ordering. All right. In the package manager console, enter the command update database to create the database and run the seed method. So it should be here, and I don't have to copy this. It should be just update hyphen database and enter. It says if you get an error, and I don't believe I did, that indicates that a table already exists and can't be created. It's probably because you ran the application after you deleted the database, and before you executed the update database. In that case, we have to delete the MDF file again and retry the update database command again. Well, let's see. If we do come over here and we go up here, let me make this small again. I'm going to come into here and I'm going to go to Show All Files, refresh. Still doesn't look like I have anything in there. But we're going to see. So let's run this. We're told to run this, and once it comes up, to go over to the movies database. Not as confident as I normally am when I do this stuff because there was no database there. It is there. Well, that's good. And you notice that my Jason X is now in the right alphabetic order, and Rio Bravo is not, but it's the last one that they added, so I just kept it in there. The dates look good, our genres look like they're okay, the prices look good, etc. Okay, everything is cool. So, next we're supposed to add a rating property to the movie model. So in other words, what we want to do here is we want to add a new field, or the equivalent of adding a new field to our database. And once we go in, what's going to happen is I'm going to go in and kind of arbitrarily add the rating. And what I mean by that is I'm not sure what these are rated, and I really don't feel like going back to check. Okay, so let me stop my run and go back to here and stop the run on here. So start by adding a new rating property to the existing movie class. Open the models movie.cs. So I don't think I need a lot of these that are open, so I'm going to close that, and I'm going to close that, and that. In fact, I'm closing all of them. All right. So I'm going back to the models movies.cs class right there, and I'm going to add a rating property as is shown on page 11 of the document. So I've got ID, I've got all this stuff, and after price, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab that and copy it, and that will change to a string, and this will say rating, because that's all we're supposed to add. So that's the complete class in there now with a new field in it. Then we are to build the application. Because we added a new field to the moving class, we also need to update the binding whitelist so that this new property will be included. Update the bind attribute for create and edit action methods to include the rating property. Well, that's a good one. So let's see. For the create and edit. So we've got ID, title, release date, genre, price, and I need to add to this comma rating. That should be the first one. So that's the one that we added to create, and to edit we should have to do the same thing. Is it edit? Create and edit actions. And that's right here. So again, we have to add rating. You'll also need to update the view templates in order to display, create, and edit the new rating property in browser view. So let's save that. Then we need to go back to the associated view templates. So the movies view templates, and we need to check create. Now, I'm doing this with, they really give you no instructions on how to do it. So I'm going to grab this, paste that in, and where it's got model price, I'll have to change that to model ratings, and I have to make sure I make every change that's in here. The good news is after I do it, then I'll be able to copy it to the other ones. Ratings. I'm trying to check here to see if I've got price anyplace. Okay, I don't see that, but it says the movie does not contain a definition. I think it will when we go back in just a minute. And if I'm wrong, then we're going to have to go back and fix this. Copy. All right, so that was the one for... So we added the one for our create. We wouldn't, of course, have to touch the details. But actually, the delete we won't have to touch. The details, we should have to do that one also. But before we do that, let's look at the edit. I want to see if that looks just the same as the other one did. Good. All right. So that was our price. So let's put right here. So that should be our ratings. That's good. Again, if I screwed up, hey, so be it. So I've now done the create and the edit. And we updated our create, edit. Now we got to do the display, which is the details, I believe. So in here, where we've got all this stuff for price, I'll have to copy this and paste. So now we got price, 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 price. This will have to say ratings, and this will have to say ratings. Okay? All right. So let's save everything. Let's build it one more time, or rebuild it. And again, if I made mistakes, hopefully I didn't, but open the Views Movies Index. And add the rating column heading just after the price heading. And I could have screwed up. The reason I might be getting that is that should be rating and not ratings. That might be why I was getting all those errors. So rating. And I apologize for that. That's looking much nicer though. Well, that didn't go. Yep, they went away. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. Unfortunately, when you make a mistake like this and you let it propagate all the way through, you've got to change it every place where you've made it, so that's okay. Rating there, that's okay. Let's just do a save all right now. Okay. Then we also need, under our index.cshtml, we also need, just like we did here when we added this, got to add one more, and again, this will have to be rating. Okay, so that's everything on the bottom of page 11 of the handout here. It says below is what it should look like. I guess I should have done that, but I didn't, and that's fine. Next, open the View Movies Create. which I already have open, and add a rating field with the following highlighted makeup. Markup, I should say. This renders a text box so you can specify a rating when the movie is created. Now, before we do that, let's go back to here. So we're adding the rating property. See where I am here. Okay, so this will be in our form group, and it'll be right under the price, so I'm going to grab that. Okay. So again, this is in our create. I think I put this in already because I see the rating right there, so that's good. Okay, I'm on the middle of page 14. You have now updated the application code to support the new rating property. Let's save, go back and build the solution. All right. Then we're going to run the program and we're going to see what it looks like. Now, according to this, on the bottom of page 14, when we migrate here, we're going to see an error. Okay, I don't see one right here, and I do see my new field for rating. But I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go to movies like this. They're telling us to go to the movies URL. It says when you do this, you'll see one of the following errors. Well, again, there we go. Yeah, it talks about the model backing. All right, the model backing, the MovieDB context has changed since the database was created. It says, consider using code-first migrations to update the database. Well, you're seeing this error because you updated the movie model class in the application. You're seeing the error because the updated movie model class in the application is now different than the schema in the database. There's no rating column in the schema of the database that we created. So, on page 16, there are a few approaches to resolving this error. Number one, have the entity framework automatically drop and recreate the database based on the new model class schema. This approach is very convenient if you're early in the development cycle and you're working on a test database, as it allows you to quickly evolve the model and the database schema together. The downside is that you lose the existing data in the database. So you don't, of course, want to do this on a production database. And I don't want to do it because I've already gone in and refined my data. So that's the first thing you can do. We're not going to do that. Secondly, you can explicitly modify the schema of the existing database so that it matches the model classes. The advantage of this approach is that it keeps your data intact. You can make this change either manually or by creating a database change script. Or third, you can use the code-first migrations to update the database schema. And that's what we're going to use here. So we have to update our seed method. So let's stop the run. All right. And let's update our seed method. And I don't remember offhand where that is. So I'm going to go back and check. I think that's in our configurations.cs file. All right, there's the seed method right there, as you can see. No pun intended, right there. All right. So we have to provide update the seed method so that it provides a value for the new column. Well, we don't have those in there right now. Okay, that makes sense. So for each one of these, we have to come in and say rating equal, and then what the rating is. Armageddon will make PG, and I'm just going to add a bunch of these. You know, I'll add one to each column because it's now expecting it. So we need the comma. This one will be G, it's a kid's movie. This is a horror movie, so we'll make it R. Cars 2 is another animation, so we'll make it G. Cloud Atlas, I don't remember what that was, so let's make it PG. Freddy vs. Jason, another horror movie, we'll make it R. Friday the 13th Reboot, another horror movie, so we'll make it R. Independence Day was an action movie, we'll keep it at PG. Jason X, another horror movie, we'll make that R. All right, Jumper, we'll make PG. Real Steel, we'll make PG. Saw 2 being a horror movie, we'll make that an R. Sky High, which was a kid's movie, we'll make that just G. Thor will make PG. Twister will make PG. And The Wizard will make G. And Rio Bravo will make G. So we now have put in, I think there's 17 movies in here now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have put in 17 ratings. All right, so I've updated those. All right, so I'm going to again save and build the solution. Then I'm going to go back to my package manager, which is tough because I've kind of buried it. And I have to again say add dash migration space rating. This tells the framework to examine the current movie model with the current movie DB schema and create the necessary code to migrate the DB to the new model. The name rating was arbitrary, and it's used to name the migration file. It makes sense, though, to do that. So it makes sense to use a meaningful name. All right. When we're done, it should again open up our thing that's in here, but it shows that it's added the ratings to it. So build the solution. One more time. Come back here into my package manager console and key in update hyphen database. Hit enter. That looks good. All right. Rerun the application. I'm on the bottom of page 17 in the article. Making some progress here. Again, I've got different movies than what are shown in their handouts, so when I go over here, there are my ratings. Now that the project is using migrations, you won't need to drop the database when you add a new field or update the schema. In the next section, we're going to make more schema changes and use migrations to update the database. You should also add the rating to your edit, details, and delete view templates, which I already did. You could enter the update database command in the package manager console window again, and no migration code would run, because the schema matches the model. However, running update database will run the seed method again, and if you changed any of the seed data, the changes will be lost. The author mentions here, and I think I've alluded to this before, but I'm saying it again, and that is, and I'm right down near the bottom here, almost to the bottom, that you may want to go back in and look at the author's, I guess this isn't this author's, but Tom Dijkstra's popular ASP.NET MVC Entity Framework tutorial. And it's getting started with Entity Framework 6 code. I'm sorry, I just don't have it in me to go through this entire tutorial. All right? Because I believe that's it. And there are, again, quite a few lessons. It's not small. I think this might be the one. Let's see. This uses a different example. Looks like it's got like university and students and stuff. I don't want to do that. I mean, if this was 4 or 5 pages, I would do some extra taping, but print. It is 26 pages, all right? So you can take a look at that yourselves if you have an interest to do so. In this section, we saw how to modify model objects and keep the database synced with the changes. We also learned how to populate a newly created database with sample database so we could try out our scenarios. This was a quick introduction to code first, all right? Next, in the number 10 of 11 articles, we will look at how you can run and add richer validation logic to the model classes and enable some business rules to be enforced. So I will be back in just a couple minutes with the 10th of 11 articles. See you then.